bullied boy has a skill of cheating in another world and became mighty, then returned to the real world. How stronger the IA never felt that could fit this perfectly world, but he still wanted to do the difference even if it was small. Heart overflowed with kindness despite of feeling like scum. One day, as he wandered down a narrow alley, he heard the desperate cry of a girl for help. Awakened curiosity, approached to see if he could give a hand. Approaching, he saw the girl cornered by three menacing guys who refused to let her go. Gathering all the courage he had, the IA gave a step forward and confronted the trio. They mocked him, mocking his weight, but he stood firm. He drew them by their behaviors, explaining that the girl was clearly distressed. They twisted his words, mocked of him, and then struck with a cruel blow, spanking. And while the girl watched the helpless, just in time the police arrived and scared off the troublemakers by leaving and lying on the floor. The girl ran so that had lost all sense of pride, just up and went. Although while returning home, remembered the wise lessons of his grandfather, who always instructed to be kind to the needy. His grandfather had been yours single ray of sunshine in a dark world, teaching him that even if the world is unkind to him, he would find courage to help someone in even a small need. Act of kindness would show that he was able to make a difference. He knew that one day, just as his grandfather had told him, taught he would find the true happiness being kind to others, and that courage would always brighten your way through your life. Endured terrible bullying in school. Classmates took off his clothes to intimidate him, as they called him ugly, and if that wasn't enough, he also suffered bullying at home by his parents, who considered unworthy to be their child because he didn't have the same pretty face as his brothers. Was just love and guidance from his grandfather who made him continue. But one day your sunshine turned in a dark of found, leaving the truly alone in this world, knowing what would happen to IA if he went back to his parents. His grandfather left him with the house and his savings. His parents wanted to take everything, but his grandfather had already prepared everything, so he just deserted, leaving his own son living alone and being forced to work part-time. Survived the next day while going attended his graduation school. He found himself facing his bullies another. Once they scribbled cruel insults on all your notebook, claiming finally get rid of it. Desperate to escape, the IAT tried to run away, but the bullies chased him and knocked him to the ground, begged them to stop, explaining that he needed to get to his job part-time, but the bullies only laughed, throwing more insults and beatings. A student crowd gathered around, some taking pictures and videos while others mocked and laughed. After enduring an afternoon of torment, got to work just to be fired for arriving late. Feeling discouraged, he returned home, believing that he had no way of comforting himself or caring of expenses, only having pasta instant for dinner. He tried stay strong and get on with life, but when he looked into his face mirror, he realized it was impossible. He hoped graduation would change everything, but nothing looked different. Dominated by anger and despair, and punched her reflection, shattering the incapable mirror. Out of control, he hit the wall, and to his surprise the wall moved, revealing a secret door to a hidden room. Ian wasn't sure if your grandfather knew about this room, but he could see memories of his travels. Grandfather around the world. Awakened curiosity, IA discover another mysterious door inside of the room. When he opened, he found what looked like a mountain cabin. As he ventured into a status window appeared before their confused eyes. He assumed there was entered another world. He returned to previous room to make sure, and when examined door, another state window appeared, displaying the rating of skill. Various other windows, including conversion menu functions, money and transfer, and restrictions on UI input, was still confusing, but managed to understand the basics. Last window showed status of him and his disbelief. All your stats were of a point. After reading more windows, he learned he could assign points and use a box to store items, but most importantly, he needed to find out where he was. To do this, he opened a window in the room and looked out while enjoying the view. OIA finally realized that he was in the middle of a lush forest in a world brand new. While UI's eyes is examining the table, he noticed something in common, a letter on its surface. It tried to read but could not understand the language. In an instant, the system granted to him a skill that allowed him decipher the unknown text. To letter written by the former owner of the house revealed that he had passed away like the next person who discovered the house. Automatically, along with everything within the letter, also explained that the house was protected by magic preventing any one that he doesn't invade with this new Kyuya knowledge. Began by exploring the house, examining the various weapons and equipment stored inside it. Took a sword that to use his evaluation skill turned out to be quite dangerous. However, its curiosity gets the better of him and he leaves to your backyard and start testing the sword. Due to lack of stats, he clearly fails at first attempt and ends up falling to the ground in the however a new window appeared, revealing that he gained a point sword proficiency. He thinks that got it so fast because he came from another world and decides to see what happens, experimenting with various other weapons, gaining a point of proficiency in each. But soon after mastering these skills, they disappeared, merging into a single skill called true martial arts like, and packed her weapons in the box items. Suddenly he heard the step up approaching. He looks in your direction and sees a bloody shoulder running across your direction, ready to feast on your blood. Luckily, the magic that protects the house formed a barrier. The ogre of enter relentless. The ogre continued suffering attack trying to break the barrier. The IA checked the stats of the monster that revealed it was level 300, a formidable foe. Unable to break through the barrier, the ogre tore a tree off the ground and shot nail and more. Once Barrero saves the idea, should try to throw his spear at monster in a desperation throw to save himself. He stood as best he could, gathering every inch of strength in your body to throw the spears at the fearsome creature. When he looked up to see the result, he was astonished at the sight before him, the blood flying all over the place and the monster has a huge hole in his chest. IA fell to her knees looking at her hands in disbelief at what just happened. Carry out. He looks up once more and the monster disappears. At that moment, one status window appeared showing that he had risen from level 1 to level blood, that all your stats reached 1,000 points each. He approaches the place and insights some equipment and items on the ground that have fallen from the death of the monster. It begins distribute your stat points, and since he is very tired with the first shock, he decides to go back and rest. When he approached the door, a loot window appeared from the nothing. Money he could use on the real world materialized and fell into ground. However, that night if turned into UIA's worst nightmares. Your bones, muscles and skin began to shift and squirm around, at the same time causing pain unbearable that only stopped when he passed out. He wakes up the next day, but there is something strange when he looks at down his belly. If it was replaced by a flat stomach with little buds. When he touched his face and his hair, noticed his clothes too big, and that thing had changed him too. Try to look in the mirror, but you can't. More mirror and ends up not caring with that since his clothes don't suit him. Surf. He put on the clothes instead and equipment of the house in the other world, and if he ventured out there, he found that the previous owner had a cultivation of vegetables, so he decided to keep the garden in his honor. Suddenly another monster collide with the barrier, but this time the IA is calmer than last time. He brings his spear and defeats easily the monster. It verifies that the drop of monster some normal items, but he was very lucky at that time. He won a rare drop accessory and equips the new collar. Immediately your level increased to 150 and all your statistics reached at least 2,000 points each. He comes back and decides to use the new withdrawal of money to buy one new uniform for your next entry in high school. But until that day, the IA kept house in the new world using your vegetables grown for meals that end up improving your stats. He begins to happily enjoy his new days, thinking about how he was depressed to join high school after being bullied for years, but now he has overcome that and are more curious about this new world. There he trained and took his level of proficiency in martial arts. I was eating weird things, drops from monsters, but tasty. It was finally enjoying a happy life, but it's not the monsters. We'll leave it alone, just like this goblin elite. He stores all the drops in his box and is ready for its new school. The next day, Kyuya finally succeeds. Join your new school without realizing it, that all the people are looking at him, talking about his good looks in your new classroom. Your former bullies approached him. He starts to shake from scared and they ask who is he. He reveals that he is the ugly boy they used to bully, but everyone reacts shocked. No one can believe the transformation. After class, OIA ran to the bathroom to finally see your reflection. When he looked in the mirror, he screamed in disbelief with her pretty face looking back at him. Thanks for watch this video. Subscribe to Receive more, see you in the next.